hero? Sure, I pretend I'm a hero when I fight, so what? When it's time to throw down, my brain just starts thinking in Dragon Quest terms.
Ugh, again with the Dragon Quest? What's so great about it?
Everything. It's an epic and dangerous journey, and that's exactly how I see real life.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a DualShockers discussion. Today, we tackle a review in progress for Yakuza Like a Dragon. And man, it's like a something, let me tell you. To my immediate right, I have one, Ricky Freck.
Hey, how's it going?
And to the double right, I have the reviewer himself, Chris. How do you say
Good
your last
evening.
name?
Cornelise.
Yes.
Much more straightforward than it looks.
I was like, it looks a bit off, but like when you say it, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely what that is. Well,
that's because I'm not doing the Dutch pronunciation.
right?
So you're fine.
So where are you guys at? Sort of in the overall, like without spoiling anything.
Okay, I think I'm the furthest, probably by far, because I had to push through it the most. But I am currently in the early days of chapter 13. I believe there's 14 or 15 chapters in the overall game, based entirely on the Japanese trophies. So, yeah, so reasonably far in. I've seen quite a bit, done a lot of stuff, and yeah. So, where are you guys at?
Yeah, I think I'm at the very end of chapter 4, but maybe in the middle of it. I'm not completely sure, but I'm in chapter 4, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm it's like we went down where like Chris is like way past us, and then Ricky and I are just like, yeah, chapter 4. I think I'm at chapter 3, with the homeless stuff. No spoilers.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm ready to talk about this game. It is so fantastic. I was saying before we started the fact that I don't think I'm actually gonna finish Persona because this is my Persona fix, and I feel like there's new content coming out, and man, like Persona, you can't pick up cans in a little cart while running off other people. You know what I'm saying? I don't want DualShockers to become the joke of Yakuza is the best game ever, but this time, oof.
We're not alone this time around.
Yeah.
It's not just me, me and Ricky waving the judgment flag this time around.
Yeah, it's gonna be so hard this year. But what are your overall thoughts, Ricky? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think so far I really like it. I think the switch from it is a switch to a turn-based system, but it almost doesn't feel like that because you're not controlling the movement, but you still see them moving around like they're in a brawling game. So to me, it doesn't it's not that big of a change. And I think adding in the extra characters in your party is like a really cool addition because in a couple of Yakuza games, it's been a while since I played one that was newer, but you would get with you'd have a partner and they would do team up attacks where they'd hold a guy down and then you could beat them up. And expanding that in this way I think it does a lot of cool stuff, especially where Ichiban is living in a Dragon Quest game, which we could talk about a little bit later about how that's a constant thing where he's things in the game have something to do with another video game, which is pretty fun.
It's so good.
Yeah,
It's very meta.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think Ichiban is the best protagonist I've ever had, which is saying something with some of the other people that I really like. Still not above Taichi in my ranking of all characters, but as far as protagonists go, I think he's the best one so far.
Chris, since you're reviewing it, you give and you have the meaty chunk of it. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, it's been pretty consistent from the first time I got to play the preview, a month ago, and everything since then has been building on that, really. But no, it is fantastic. My biggest concern was that but everything else about a Yakuza game is still here and intact, aside from the brawling battles, and I thought I would miss them, and I do kind of miss them, but the replacement, again, it has the same energy, the same kind of movement and gathering stuff up off the streets, and it just, it's about as good a conversion of that concept to the turn-based menu formula as you could get, and then it just it runs with that concept so far, just in terms of like the puns. Oh my god, the puns! Just the names of enemies, the way they're recontextualized, the way it's all just Ichiban's imagination. Effectively, they run with the concept so strong that you can't help but just absolutely love it. So yeah, I adore it. I share the sentiment that Ichiban is right up there as far as like series protagonist goes, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones that I encountered, and I'm just like, is that steamed punk? I was like, oh my god, they're doing some things right now. Well, yeah, it's got like this weird. In any other game, it would feel like the tone is shifting drastically at times, and it would feel off. Yeah. But this game, it feels right at home. Where, like, at one point, Ichiban is talking to his boss, played by George Takei, about Dragon Quests, and the next scene, like someone's dying or something. Like, it's such a shift in tone, and it's such a. I don't know. It's one of the funniest games I've played all year, I will say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But also like but also it has that sort of thick skin that kind of you have to tackle one bite at a time, where it's just like, oh, this is also a story about how, this at the time it was a kid, Ichiban, like, is trying to become a Yakuza because he searches for meaning in life, and it's like gets real deep, and
yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying that so far. So I mean, we can jump into anything really, but I want to talk about the combat. I mean, that's the newest thing so far. How do you guys feel about the change in the combat, and is it, I mean, Chris, you touched on it a little bit, but is it well deserved in this franchise now?
Well, again, it is a bit of a, like, a lot of people when the first reveal happened were just like, wait, what? That seems a bit out of place. And then there's me going, well, everything else about the Yakuza thing is still completely intact, so I trust them. I trust them to to give them the chance, see what they can do with it. And yeah, as I've said, they did it. They've converted it reasonably well. Yeah, so the combat itself is, I said in the review in progress, which I just put out this morning, that it's not like the most super complicated, in-depth, well-designed battle system. It's not up there with like your Persona 5s or your Trails of Cold Steels or anything like that. It plays more akin to Dragon Quest, funnily enough, but it really does wear that inspiration on its sleeve, but almost to a fault, because Dragon Quest is, while strong, it's not like the most mechanically complicated, the most structurally well designed. It's just kind of like simple, clean fun. And they've translated that to Yakuza, given it a bit of a polish and stuff, but I mean, it is basically just pick your strongest attacks and go at it. There is a bit more strategy, especially in the later game stuff. One boss in Chapter 12 kicked my ass about 6 times, I think, until I finally did enough grinding and setup and gear execution and stuff. Just, yeah, it gets tougher, and it does start forcing you to start paying attention. But in the early days, it is a little bit simplistic, so that could be a detractor. But then it just carries it through with the presentation, again, recontextualizing the base JRPG concepts into the Yakuza world, and the humor and puns and sheer insanity of it. It's glorious. So
and like the summons of the pigeons, like that was where I was like, oh, we're in for a treat. Like the tag team stuff.
I think that's what I like so much about it, is the other Yakuza games I usually play on easy, just because I came to the series kind of late, so I'm trying to get through as many of them as I can as fast as I can. So I'm like, well, the battle system's fun, but you have to fight all the time. So I'd rather just play it and beat it. And this game, you get to those cool like heat actions immediately. Like there's no waiting to level up. You can immediately like sick pigeons on people and beat them with baseball bats and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think like that's always been my favorite part of Yakuza is when you get to the point where you can just like demolish people with heat actions, and you get to do that out of the gate. Which, I mean, I'm not very far, so it is, as Chris is saying, it is really easy, and I'm hoping it gets a little tougher as I go. But as far as like that over the top Yakuza-ness of it, I think it nails that, and I think it does it in a way that lets everybody start doing that immediately. You don't have to like learn, you have to be like, well, if you're in a fighting stance and you have this heat bar and the enemy's on the ground, then you can do this. Instead, it's just like, no, you just click triangle and you can shoot pigeons at people, which is pretty cool.
It's so much. Yeah, I so where I'm at in the series, I played the most I played is Yakuza Zero. And that was my entry into the series, and I checked it out. I initially checked it out and I was like, this probably isn't for me, because I'm not like really a beat 'em up guy, but I hear so much of great things about how wacky it is, and I love that kind of insanity that that level of insanity that it brings. But I think for me, the battle system is really bringing me in, where I feel like it's just enough more thought to it than, the previous Yakuza games, to where I'm like, okay, like this has a game to it. It feels like, not that the other ones didn't, but to me, like, I was changing every so often the fighting styles and all that, and this actually feels like, oh, okay, like I can use this, I can use that. This guy's gonna take a little bit more damage, and then especially like when people are knocked down, making sure you attack right away, I think is such a great like addition to kind of strategize.
As well as having enemies get in the way and block you if you try. I think that just means even if you don't control the positioning is important, which is kind of nice.
Well, even like the stuff around, the items around you, like sometimes I'll wait until like a steamed punk is getting too close to like a bench or something, and I was like, okay, let's go, and then just hit him with the bench. Yeah,
he's near the bicycle. He's nearly at the bicycle.
right. Yeah. Have you guys delved into any of the side stuff? I just started to where I was at. Is there any standout stuff that you have seen that is like, this is the new hotness?
I can see Ricky laughing his ass off, so you go.
Oh my god. Okay, so this is kind of spoiling a little something for people, I guess, but there's this place where you find this guy, and he runs a cinema, and people are walking out of the cinema, they're like falling asleep at his movie, and he's really mad at you, and then he's like, will you come watch this old movie with me? And you go in there to watch a movie, and he's like, Ichiban's like, oh man, better not fall asleep during this. And then the screen like turns this purple fog, and this man in a sheep mask pops up from behind you. And it's like this mini game where, I mean, it's easy. It's not, I mean, the first one's really easy, but this mini game of trying to stay awake where these sheep are like popping up and like sending sleepy, I don't know, magic at you. And also there's a chicken that plays the cymbals behind you. And it is like the weirdest, like at first I was terrified because a man in a sheep mask popped up. I was like, is this guy going to murder me? Because that's one of my fears at movie theaters. It's like I'm sitting in the movie theater and someone's going to come up behind me and slash my neck. I don't, it's an irrational fear, but I have it. And so I was like, oh my God, like it triggered me a little bit. And then it was like, you have to make sure to keep the sheep away so you can stay awake. It's just the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, that is a like, game for sure.
Like I just got to the dragon kart racing, which is like I mentioned earlier that they do this a lot where parts they introduce into the game are like actually other games. Like there's a kind of a Pokemon mini game where you have like a Pokédex. I think it's called a Suji Dex, where you're trying to find different fighters around the world so you can learn their weaknesses and earn points and stuff. But there's the Mario Kart one, which is called Dragon Kart. And it's basically Double Dash, like if I'm remembering my Mario Karts right, because you can do that drift thing around corners. But instead of like
2 items and such,
instead of like shooting turtle shells at people, you shoot rocket launchers at them, which is also pretty great. And I think is that, I'm assuming that at some point Pocket Fighter is going to show up in that mini game, but I don't know.
He's the guy. He's
is that who it is? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
yeah.
Good.
He's the guy who gives you that quest and
man,
does it. I think I believe the name he goes by is the same name as the shop in his appearance in Yakuza 6.
Okay.
And it's also an Initial D reference. So there you go.
But yeah, the mini games are like, I mean, the side content's always been good, but this is like on another level. It seems like they've gone really far with making this stuff good. And there's some stuff I haven't seen. Like I know there's the management sim part that I haven't even gotten to yet. That I'm, as someone who's spent way too much time doing the management, like property manager in, was that Zero? Yeah, in Zero.
Yeah, Zero.
I'm assuming I'm going to lose like a day of my life to that game.
You probably are.
But man, it's really good. Yeah, and like the sub stories are really good that I've seen so far. You were talking about, Nick, about how they can like nail that shift in tone from like wacky to really heartfelt. And there was one early one, I think it's in chapter 3. I think it was the first 2 ones I found, but you run into this one where the police are like, there's this guy pissing in the river at night. Can you help us catch him? And the cops like making all these pissing. I wrote what Ichiban says, because the cops making all these like pee.
There are so many jokes.
He's making all these urination puns, and then Ichiban says, "If I see him squirt, I'll make him eat dirt." And then, like 5 minutes later, I'm helping this old man whose wife died in his pawn shop, and he's trying to like keep all of his belongings because it reminds him of her. And both of those moments almost made me cry. One because it was so funny, another because it was so sad that this guy has like lost his wife and trying to hold on to her by keeping trash out in front of his pawn shop. And man, I think a lot of it is Ichiban that they can. I mean, Kiryu could bridge that gap too, but a lot of it is like the voice actor. I mean, I'm playing an English the English voice acting, so I don't know how it is in Japanese, but I think the actor, he really nails it and like lets Ichiban be this character who can like take stuff seriously, but really never does. So yeah, I mean, I'm loving the side stuff. I'm kind of skipping the main mission so I can go to as many sub stories as I can right now.
That's the true Yakuza experience, right? There's a main quest over here, but there's so much stuff in the way. I'm just going to stop by here and here, and there you go. 50 hours of your life gone. Yeah. Great times.
Yeah, I had it was funny because I think I've been playing the Yakuza games wrong, because I have like usually like I'll get done with the main quest, I'm like, all right, let's go do side content now, and I'm like, oh, but the arrow's pointing this way. All right, let's go this way. So I usually try to mainline it, but like as I started out here, like I started to mainline it. I'm like, all right, well, I want to see what the side content has to do, and like it's funny because you almost have like a I don't know if I want to call it like Breath of the Wild type thing where like you can go you can go to this place, but they're like level 13 and you're level 4. So I had a couple of those points where I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. But
no side of the city can be rough at first.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely am enjoying. Like I played Virtua Fighter. I don't remember which one's in this game, but it's just so much fun.
2 and 5 in this one. So
I think it was 2 then, because I played the older one, and then I played some Cruisin'. No, not Cruisin' USA. It was Outrun, right?
Outrun.
Yeah.
I think they're contractually obligated to put Outrun and Space Harrier in every Yakuza game. I don't know what it is.
Like that, just those arcade games are so much fun. And then, I mean, like I said earlier, that I just started the can collecting mini game, and man, that is so much fun. Just like boosting into other can collectors and trying
knocking
to get
their shit over.
Yep, and trying to avoid
3 or 4 of them for the big bonus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, it just fills me with such joy when I come out with the most cans. And then like you have this shady figure that kind of looks like the Resident Evil 4 merchant who was just like, yeah, you know, you get these cans, I'll give you currency to buy stuff at my shop, you know. I'm really enjoying this game so far, especially the side content. So story-wise, where are you guys at, like, in terms of feelings so far? Are you enjoying certain aspects? Are there certain aspects that you kind of are, it could be take here or there? Is there a certain scene that, not obviously spoilers, but like there's certain things that don't feel as much as like a Yakuza game.
And it definitely feels all consistent to a Yakuza game, which again, it's the tone. Like they have absolutely no problem selling the most ridiculous, wacky, zany antics, but the character, like Kiryu before and now Ichiban and every other one, they always are still themselves. They react to it as they would. So no matter how crazy it is, they will still be these, stoic or principled characters who will just see it through. And Ichiban is really strong in that regard because he can gel with it. He kind of has, he's a little more expressive in when shit gets crazy, but he's also really, easy to flare up and to get really motivated and pumped for the big stuff, which he does. I think I said low int high wisdom kind of thing. In that, yeah, when push comes to shove, Ichiban is like the most. I don't know how to. He's like the most principled character that this series has ever had. He sticks to his guns. And so that just leads to moment after moment in the main story where he's like, no, we're not doing that. That's bullshit. That is wrong. I will fight you over this. Or, just fighting the impossible fights to help out the little guys and such like that. And that is such a continuous theme in main content, side content, all of it, that I just adore him, basically. I love Ichiban. So that's probably the highlight for me. Like, there's certain moments, I won't spoil anything, but chapter 12, just all of chapter 12.
Yeah,
all of chapter 12. But yes.
I think that what's so great about, and again, what I've played in Yakuza Zero and the previous Yakuzas, what's so great about Ichiban is he almost feels like half Majima, half Kiryu, where he can play with the best of them. I think that that's so. He takes the best out of both, and it just makes this amalgam of a character. And then also, with your party. I mean, right now I only have one other person in my party, but like the characters around him make him so much more stronger too.
And they have their own arcs and developments, and they bounce off each other. There's lots of conversations you can have in the world with them. There's scenes where you can increase the bond level by hanging out at a bar with them. They all have their little side quest, and yeah, they're all great. They really are.
Do they ever ask you to go bowling?
Hasn't happened yet.
Gotta get that chicken.
Yeah, there's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh yeah, there's a scene. I think it's in chapter 3, where Kanba and Ichiban is like telling all the bums like pull themselves up by their bootstraps and like we got to go get jobs, and then Kanba like tells him why that's not possible except for him. He can do that, but the rest of them can't. And I really like those two together. First of all, I love Kanba's voice actor. I think like something about his voice is just great. But those two together, I really like their dynamic. Where like Ichiban tries to be this like plucky character who's gonna like lift everybody up, and Kanba's this like old realist who's like this is how it really is, kid. And there's something about that it's like there's some of that Kiryu dad energy in Kanba where he's kind of like the dad of Ichiban, and I hope that sticks through the whole thing, because those so far, I mean, Adachi, who's the other character I've seen so far, I like him a little bit, but those are the two that have been the strongest for me so far.
Yeah, they remain fairly consistent. Nanba is kind of the voice of reason there again, kind of voice of reason, but also just the very dour realist that kind of like, are we really doing this again, Ichiban? And that he just eventually learns to just I'm just gonna roll with it. I get it. Yeah. I got your back. This is crazy. I got your back. And yeah, Adachi will make more of an appearance later, and he's hilarious. I love Adachi. Okay. And yeah, every character afterwards has just been, they've had their own little niche and personality, and just been an absolute delight. Even that extends as well to non-playable characters, like a lot of the NPCs, and the various crime bosses and factions and such. The more you get embroiled in Yokohama, the more character it has, and the more well realized it all just feels. So that was probably, again, another really highlight, was just how well world built Yokohama was, with all the different struggling factions and power balance and such, and how it interacts with the outside world. So yeah, you'll see plenty more of that.
Well, it's like even early on, like seeing how well it crafts the characters to make you care about each and every, no matter who they are, no matter how much they're in the story or not, they make you care about each and every characters. Yeah, and like the other thing I was like really interested with is the fact like how many twists and turns even early on it gives you. Like it's just like, oh shit, like what is going on? But yeah,
that's a Yakuza staple as well.
Is it? Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
how
I said,
many rubber bullets? How many rubber bullets?
Oh my gosh.
Ricky gets it.
I don't get it, but in my
the
head,
first time, oh my gosh.
It's a Yakuza 4 thing.
Yeah.
I have a long way then.
You ever get there?
Well,
they just get more crazy, basically. But yeah, they all.
Yeah. That was one of those things where, like, when Yakuza Zero came out, I wanted to finish Zero and then go to Kiwami and Kiwami 2.
Yeah. Which is how I did it.
I keep looking at it on sale. I'm like, kind of want to buy this right now. Check it out. You know, like Yakuza 6 for sure was definitely that. Well, it sounds like we're kind of winding down. What are your overall thoughts so far, guys? Like, what are you coming away with it? Especially like the rankings, like comparable to other Yakuza games. Where do you see yourself so far? Obviously, Ricky, you're a little bit early, and I'm quite early as well.
I think
top three,
yeah,
top three.
I'm thinking, okay, so my top 3 right now are 3, which I know is unpopular, and then 2 and 0 in that order. And I think it's probably going to be above 0 without a doubt. There's something about that dad Kiryu, though. I don't know if it's going to be able to topple 3. I just love him so much. I mean, I know people don't really like that game as much as the others, but there's something about Kiryu being a dad to those orphan kids that I just love so much. But I think, I think it's definitely a high score for me, like very high. I think that it's going to contend. I said it before we started. It's going to probably be in my top 3 at the end of the year. I don't know if it'll beat Hades, but it's up there. It's definitely up there.
Chris, you're reviewing it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I said again, review in progress, no official score yet, but it's like it would take a really bad ending to turn it from lower than a 9 to 9.5 is where I'm sitting at. So yeah, like I've played through all the Yakuza mainline games at this point. Preference is 0, then Kiwami 2, then 4, which is somewhat unexpected for many, with Judgment sprinkled in there for good measure. But yeah, no, this contends. This easily contends. It's got all the best. Like the writing has gotten consistently better as the series has progressed. The characters are really strong. It's just, again, it's building on what's come before and taking it in interesting directions. And it's just quality entertainment at every step of the way. And I love it. It's great.
Yeah. How wild is it that this started as like an April Fool's joke?
Crazy, right? They hadn't even converted it yet. Like they were still in the prototyping phase when they did that joke. Like everyone was like, "Oh, this was getting us ready for it." No, that wasn't locked in yet. Yeah. I'm like, how did you get to that?
I'm pretty sure that was like in my top or my first like 10 or 15 articles with DualShockers. Yakuza April Fool's joke.
Yeah,
oh man,
I think I'm at the very similar place with you guys. It's something that, like Yakuza Zero, I really loved playing, or basically I loved being in that world, but I didn't.
Yep.
The gameplay wasn't really for me. So I think Yakuza 7 is like the perfect blend of both, for me so far, and I can't wait to keep coming back to it. I don't want this game to end. Especially because it's given me that little bit of like persona with the we talk about it, but the kind of charisma the stat system,
personality,
gear, the personality,
even the UI, like the style of the UI, I feel like pulls a lot from Persona.
I know what I was gonna ask. So at a certain point in the beginning, and this.
Yep.
I'm gonna be as loose spoilers as I can. What message. What? There's a choice for a drunkard, I will say. What did you choose? Did you choose to scold, or did you choose to lift her up? Because I want to know if that's different.
I think I think it raises different stats.
Okay.
Because
you do find her later, and
yeah,
I was like, is this because of me?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so I chose to be nice to her.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I didn't think about that. That maybe she would have changed, like how she was in the future.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
She was basically a health nut. Like,
I will have to start a new playthrough, I guess, and
Yeah.
speed through to see.
Is that what you did, Chris?
Yeah, I can't remember how different she was as a result. Like I was nice to her.
Yeah.
And yeah, she become a health nut later on. So it would be interesting to see if you scold her then or whatever, and she goes a completely different way. But no, I didn't do that. But it basically, typically there's no wrong choice. It just raises a different stat, and you see slightly different.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, because I knew it did raise the stats, but I was wondering, like, I was like, wait, is this because of me? Did I make her think about her decisions? But yeah,
unfortunately, I think we all went the same choice. So
yeah,
I can't really
right.
tell you.
We'll have to see.
Are there other ways to raise those stats besides just those choices? Because I've had 2 or 3 of those choices so far. Is there other places to do that?
Yeah. Basically, a lot of the game opens up in Chapter 5, so you're not quite there yet. But you'll access you remember like the old completion point system, Ricky?
Right. Yeah.
Something akin to that happens, and instead of getting like your completion points to spend, you would typically get a boost to the personality stats.
Okay.
So by doing your various, achievements, mini games, so on. There'll be mini games where you go do quizzes to raise them. There'll be in general, just there's a lot of different ways to get them, and you won't have to worry about it too much, as well as rare items you can find. So yeah, lots of ways to get up there. It's not just the conversation. So
okay, well then maybe it does have. I mean, I guess we'd have to check. Maybe it does have an impact. Because I was thinking if that's the only way to raise your stats, then they probably don't have that many.
Right.
Like they couldn't have that many branching paths. But maybe.
Yeah, it was just something I was wondering, because I knew, like, when you guys were talking, I'm like, I know I want to say something. And then it came up, and like, yes. Yeah, overall, great game so far. Definitely, obviously, as we said, Game of the Year contender, obviously not joke, but also joke among DualShockers that Yakuza wins every year. And
Chris joins the ranks and fights for Yakuza every single year.
Yeah, this definitely is a contender. But Ricky, Chris, where can they find you? I'm gonna direct it over to Ricky real quick.
You can find me obviously on DualShockers. I write a lot, and then sometimes I record bad videos. But if you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's just at Ricky Freck, RickyFrech.
And Chris.
Again, staff writer at DualShockers. Most of my articles, editorials, reviews, etc., will end up there. Don't have that much social media presence, but you can always find me at Delphir, DELFEIR on Twitter. And yeah. Of
course, you can find me at youtube.com/DualShockers, where you're watching this current video right now. If you can, and if you do like this video, hit a like. Subscribe, maybe hit that notification bell, all that stuff that the YouTube people say, as well as you can follow me on Twitter at Shotgun McPain, all lowercase. And as always, thank you for watching. Thank you, my esteemed guests, and